we will practice three things today. The first is forgiveness, and then loving kindness, and last, Vipassana. The practice of forgiveness is to remove any guilt feelings, if there is any. Sometimes we did something wrong to somebody, and then we have this feeling of guilt. And especially when you are meditating, because when you are meditating, you want to keep your mind pure, and this thought come back to you again and again, and spoil the meditation. So, like cleaning the slate, we will ask forgiveness from others. That is one aspect of the practice of forgiving. And the other is to forgive others. There may be some person who have done something wrong to you, and you have some anger or grudge against that person. And we have to get rid of this anger or grudge too, because in order to practice loving kindness, we must be able to forgive people. If we cannot forgive a person, we cannot practice loving kindness to him. And so loving kindness and forgiveness go together. If you cannot send loving kindness thoughts to a person, you cannot forgive him. And if you cannot forgive him, you cannot send loving kindness thoughts to him. So we will get rid of this ill feeling to anybody who may have done something wrong to us. And third, we will forgive ourselves. Sometimes people find it more difficult to forgive themselves than to forgive others. So if you cannot forgive yourself, the same feeling of anger or hatred against yourself is there, and it will disturb your meditation. So before going into meditation, we practice forgiveness. It takes about 2 minutes, not long. After that, we practice loving kindness meditation. And loving kindness is a kind of love. It's a genuine desire for the well-being of all beings. It is love not connected with attachment, not connected with lust. It is pure love or pure desire for the welfare of all beings, including ourselves. So when we practice loving kindness, first, we wish for our own health, for our own happiness. So we will say, may I be well, happy and peaceful. And this is not to be interpreted as selfishness. Because in order to send out loving kindness thoughts to others, first we have to generate these thoughts in ourselves. And also, when we send thoughts to ourselves, we can take ourselves as example. That means when we say, may I be well, happy and peaceful, then we can think, I want to be happy, I want to be healthy, so other persons will be, so may they also be happy and peaceful, and so on. So in order to be able to practice loving kindness towards other beings, we first practice towards ourselves. So we begin loving kindness with ourselves. And then we will send out these thoughts to other beings, to all beings. And you can send these thoughts in different ways. So this morning, we will send thoughts to all beings by way of location. That means we will send thoughts to all beings in this house. All beings means including, say, animals and insects and all. Then we'll send thoughts to all beings in this area, then in this city, in this county, in this state, in this country, in this world, in this universe, and then last, to all beings in general. I will say the sentences, and you will repeat them to yourself, and you'll have to say about 10 times each. And when you say the sentences to yourself, please mean them and try to see or visualize beings as really happy and peaceful, and your thoughts of loving kindness going to them and making them really happy and peaceful. It will take about maybe 15 minutes. And at the end, I will say a verse, and you just listen to the verse and go with it. And after that, we'll practice Vipassana meditation. So now we will practice forgiveness. So please repeat after me with your hands folded. If by deed, speech or thought, foolishly I have done wrong, may all forgive me, honored ones, who are in wisdom and compassion strong. Now we will forgive others. I freely forgive anyone who may have hurt or injured me. I freely forgive myself. Okay, now we practice loving kindness meditation. So I will say the sentences, and please say them to yourself about 10 times each sentence. May I be well, happy and peaceful. Just to yourself. May all beings in this house be well, happy and peaceful. May all beings in this area be well, happy and peaceful. May all beings in this city be well, happy and peaceful. May all beings in this county be well, happy and peaceful. May all beings in this state be well, happy, and peaceful. May all beings in this country be well, happy, and peaceful. May all beings in this world be well, happy, and peaceful. May all beings in this universe be well, happy, and peaceful. May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and all beings find relief. Now we have pervaded the whole world, all beings with loving kindness. Now we will practice Vipassana meditation. Sit in a comfortable posture and keep your body straight. And if there is tension in the body, just relax. Just let them go at natural speed. And focus your mind on the breaths. Keep your mind at the tip of the nose and be mindful of the in-breath and out-breaths. When you inhale, be mindful of the in-breath for the whole duration of it. A breath, an in-breath or an out-breath, lasts about 4 or 5 seconds. During this time, be really mindful of the in-breath. You may feel sensation of the air at the tip of your nose or in your nose. Be mindful of it. And when you exhale, be really mindful of the out-breath for the whole duration of 4 or 5 seconds. And concentrate on the nature of breath, the moving nature, or the supporting nature of breath, rather than on the shape or form of the breath. And try to see the in-breath and out-breath separately as two separate things, not as one and the same breath going in and coming out. And do not follow the breath into your body or outside the body. Your mind is like a gatekeeper standing at the gate and making notes of people going in and coming out. And do not force yourself, do not strain. Just calmly be mindful or watch the breaths. You may make a mental note when you breathe in and breathe out as in and out, in, out. If you think saying words interfere with your concentration, you don't have to say them. Just be really mindful of the breaths. What is important is mindfulness and not the saying of the words. But for some people, saying words help them to keep their mind on the object. So if it helps, then you may use labels or words. And if it interferes with your concentration, you don't have to say words, just be mindful. If your mind can be on the breath only, it is very good. But mind has a tendency to wander. If your mind wanders or goes out, and you are aware of it, be mindful of that going out. Or you may say to yourself, going out, 2 or 3 times, and then go back to the breath. If you see something or someone in your thoughts, be mindful of seeing, or say to yourself, seeing, until that object disappears from your mind. Then go back to the breath. If you hear someone talk in your thoughts, be mindful of hearing. Or say to yourself, hearing, 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 and go back to the breath. If you talk to someone in your thoughts, or if you talk to yourself, be mindful of talking, or say to yourself, talking, 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 and then go back to the breath. If you speculate on something, be mindful of speculating. If you analyze something, be mindful of analyzing. If you make judgments, be mindful of making judgments. If you remember something in the past, be mindful of the remembering. Or say to yourself, remembering, remembering, or just thinking, thinking. If you think of the future, making plans, be mindful of it. Say to yourself, planning, planning, planning. Then go back to the breath. If you feel lazy, if you become lazy, then be mindful of that laziness. Saying to yourself, lazy, lazy, lazy. It will go away after some moments. Then go back to the breath. If you feel bored, be mindful of boredom. Or say to yourself, bored, 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 until it goes away. Then go back to the breath. If you have resistance, be mindful of it. Or say to yourself, resisting, resisting, resisting. And when it disappears, go back to the breath. If you have thoughts of attachment, of greed, or lust, be mindful of these thoughts. Or say to yourself, attachment, attachment, or greed, greed, or lust, lust, until they disappear. Then go back to the breath. If you are upset or angry for any reason, just be mindful of that anger. Or in other words, make that anger the object of meditation. So concentrate on anger. Now you may say to yourself, anger, 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 or angry, 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 or upset, upset, upset. And after some notes, some moments, this will disappear. And when it disappears, you go back to the breath. If you want to swallow the saliva, first be mindful of the intention or desire to swallow. Saying to yourself, intention, intention, or desire, desire. And when you gather the saliva in your mouth, be mindful of gathering. Or say to yourself, gathering, gathering, gathering. And when you swallow it down, be mindful of swallowing. Or say to yourself, swallowing, swallowing, swallowing. Then go back to the breath. If you have an itching sensation, do not scratch it right away. Concentrate on the place of that itching and be mindful of it. Say to yourself, itching, 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 itching. In most cases, itching will go away after some time, after some notes. When it goes away, you go back to the breath. sometimes it will not go away. It may become more intense. But be with it, making notes of it or being aware of it as long as you can. And if you think you cannot bear it any longer, you may scratch. But before scratching, be mindful of the intention or desire to scratch. And then when you move your hand to the place, be mindful of moving. And you move your hand slowly, following the movement with mindfulness. And when your finger touches the place, say touching, touching, touching. And when you scratch, scratching, scratching, scratching. And when you take the hand back to the place, taking, taking, or moving, moving. And when your hand touches the lap or the knee or the other hand, then be mindful of touching. Or say to yourself, touching, touching, touching. And then go back to the breath. If you have painful feelings in the body, pain, numbness, stiffness, sometimes heat, focus your mind on the place of these feelings and be mindful of them. If you have pain somewhere in the body, focus on the place of that pain and be mindful of that pain. Or you may say to yourself, pain, 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 or paining, paining, paining. You will have to be very patient with painful feelings. Pain will not easily go away, but you have to be patient and be mindful of it. It may go away, or it may become more acute, but stay with it as long as you can. Actually, pain is a very good object for meditation. It is a strong object. Your mind is pulled towards it when there is pain. So be mindful of it and try to see that it is just a sensation, and do not identify pain with yourself. It is not my pain or that I am not paining. Just the pain, just the sensation. If the pain becomes so intense, you think you cannot bear it any longer, you may ignore pain altogether and go back to the breath. Or you may make movements, you may change posture to ease pain. But when you make movements or when you change, first note the intention to change. Be mindful of the intention to change. And then make movements slowly, one at a time, following each movement with mindfulness. And when you have made changes, then go back to the breath. So the breath is the home objective of your meditation. Whenever there are no other more prominent objects to be mindful of, you just keep on being mindful of the breath. If there are more prominent objects, then you make notes of them, or you make yourself aware of them, mindful of them, and then you go back to the breath. And do not use force, do not strain. Just calmly watch them, or make notes of them, or be mindful of them. And do not try to push them away, distractions or emotions or the feelings in the body. Just watch them and let them go by themselves. For some people, it is difficult to concentrate on the breath at the tip of the nose. Such people can keep their mind on the abdomen and be mindful of the rising and falling movements of the abdomen. When you inhale, the abdomen extends or rises, and when you exhale, it contracts or falls. And these movements of rising and falling can be the home object of meditation instead of the breath. Keep your mind on the abdomen and be really mindful of the rising movement from the beginning to the end, and also the falling movement from the beginning to the end. Your mind is like a jockey riding a horse or a boat moving on the waves. You may even put your hand on the abdomen to feel the rising and falling movements. After some time, you may be able to follow the rising and falling movements without your hand on the abdomen. If you are comfortable with the breath, you don't have to go to the abdomen. And do not have any expectations come to you at this time of practice. Do not expect to experience something strange or to see visions or whatever. Expectation is a mild form of greed or attachment, which is a hindrance to concentration and so has to be eliminated. So if you have expectations, just be mindful of them, or say to yourself, expecting. And then go back to the breath or the movements of the abdomen. We will sit for another 10 minutes. Now you will practice walking meditation. When you practice Vipassana meditation, it is important to keep mindfulness with you always. So, when you change from sitting to standing posture, keep mindfulness with you. Let mindfulness be with you. So before standing up, be mindful of the intention to stand up or to get up. When you say to yourself, intention, or desire. And then get up slowly, keeping your mind on the whole of your body, on the upward movement of your body. Or saying to yourself, getting up, getting up, getting up. And when you have stood up, you be mindful of standing position. Or say to yourself, standing, standing, standing. And when you walk, it is better to choose a path, walking path, and be on it. And walk on it back and forth, back and forth. And when you walk slowly, keeping your mind on the foot or on the movements of the foot, being aware of at least 4 stages in each step. In order to make a step, first you raise your foot and keep your mind on the foot and be mindful of that raising or lifting. And then you push your foot forward, you move your foot forward. Be mindful of that moving, saying to yourself, moving or pushing. And then you put your foot down on the floor. And be mindful of that putting down action. Or just say putting. And then you shift weight to make the other step. And keep your mind on the whole of your body and say shifting. And then make the next step, being mindful of lifting, pushing, putting, and shifting. This way you make steps slowly. And keep your eyes open and look at the floor about 4 or 5 feet in front of you. Do not close your eyes. You may fall if you close your eyes. So just keep them a little open and look at the floor, or keep them down. When you reach to the end of the walking space, you stop there and be mindful of stopping there, or say to yourself, stopping. Then you want to turn around, so be mindful of that desire to turn around or intention to turn around, or say to yourself, intention or desire. Then you turn slowly, being mindful of the turning movement, or saying to yourself, turning. And then walk again, making note of different stages in each step, lifting, pushing, putting, shifting, lifting, pushing, putting, shifting, and so on. When you reach the other end of the walking space, stop there, be mindful of stopping, and want to turn round, and then turning round, and then walk again. So in this way, you walk back and forth, until the end of the walking period. Actually, walking is designed for the exercise of the body. When you are practicing for half an hour or even 1 hour, walking may not be necessary. But when you are on a retreat and have to be practicing the whole day, you need the movement of the body. So walking is to be done that way. And walking is done in this manner until the end of that period. At the end of the period, the sitting period begins. So you go back to the sitting place, walking slowly, making notes of or being aware of different stages and steps, and you lower yourself down. And before lowering yourself down, be mindful of the desire to sit down, and then lower yourself down slowly, keeping your mind on the whole of your body, on the downward movement. And then when your body touches the floor or cushion, say touching, touching, touching. And then when you arrange your limbs, legs and hands, then arranging. And then after you have done all these things, go back to the breath and be mindful of the in-breath and out-breath. This way, on a retreat, you alternate sitting and walking, keeping mindfulness with you always, not losing it at any moment, or trying not to lose it at any moment. And this is how a day is spent on a retreat. But there are some more things, like when you eat. So eating is also done with meditation. Everything has to be done with meditation or mindfulness. So even the activities in the bathroom must not escape your mindfulness. So now, you'll practice walking meditation. First be mindful of the intention to get up, and then get up slowly with mindfulness and walk, making notes of or being mindful of stages and steps. When you walk, you can keep your hands anywhere you like, in the front or at the back or on the sides. Now, let us share merits. It is a good practice to share merits with all other beings whenever we do some meritorious deeds. Please repeat after me. May all beings share this merit, which we have thus acquired, for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness